Good morning and happy Wednesday. My name's Michelle. I'm with Olive and 2U Studios, and I am here today to carry on with our unwrappings for each day of our 12 Days of Christmas Woven in Words box. Today is day 7. So, as I mentioned yesterday, we're kind of on the downward hill in a good way towards that large hank on day 12. And so far, it's been a lot of fun to see the colorways and the goodies and all the things that are contained in the 12 Days of Christmas box. Now, before we get started, I do want to mention, I know many of you have already done this, but our 12 Days of Christmas and 8 Nights of Hanukkah boxes are on pre-sale right now for the 2026 year, and they're available now at early bird pricing. Again, this year, you have the option of 3 bases that you can choose from, as well as the additional option of being able to choose to have a coordinating project bag included in your box. This is the very first year we've done it for 2026, and I'm very excited about that and very excited about the reception. So many of you have chosen that option, and as I've mentioned, many of you are choosing both the Hanukkah box and the Christmas box and even the coordinating project bags on those. So you're going to have a great holiday season in 2026. So I'm excited to get started this morning as we start rocking right through. Of course, we'll open day 7, talk about it a little bit, and then we'll do a recap of all of the days up to day 7. So let's get started. Here's our day 7. Feels like it might be yarn, but it's not as thick as yarn. So let's open up and see what we have in here. Open in a little bit. I love this. So this is not yarn. This is actually a really beautiful bookmark that also happens to be a locket. Do you see that? It's a beautiful little locket. Now, your bookmark may be a different color. We got assorted colors for this. So it's kind of the luck of the draw in terms of what color yours is. So if yours doesn't match this particular color, don't fret. That's the way it was supposed to be. So, but the little golden locket is a nice size. Let me open it up. There's nothing in it, which means that you get to place something in there. You can put a picture in there. I even read the other day some directions for how to make your locket a perfume locket. If you like solid perfume, you can do that. So you can put a special picture in there, or perfume, or a lock of hair, or whatever is most precious to you. And then you can use this as a bookmark in a very special book. I love it. Now, this is part of your goodies because, number one, books. This is Woven in Words. We're sort of traversing some of the Christmas stories and literature out there. So it seemed appropriate to have a bookmark. But the reason that I chose this particular one for the box is because it reminded me a little bit of the story of the gift of the Magi. And you may remember that we did that on, I want to say maybe day 4 or day 5, the gift of the Magi, the story of Della and Jim, and how they each were very careful to select something very special for their partner, but also something that caused them to have to sacrifice something that was special to them. I'm not going to give you a spoiler of the story, but this reminded me of that, kind of harkened back to that story. And so I thought this would be a great goodie to have. If you happen to have knitting books or crochet books, this would be a nice place to use a bookmark to show what your current pattern is, or you can use it in any book that you like, obviously, even a recipe book. How many of us have recipe books? So there's that. I'm glad you love it, Kim. Kim says she loves it. So that makes me really happy. I'm glad. So anyway, that is our goodie today, back to the gift of the Magi. And I wanted to tell you really quickly that on the landing page today, remember, if you're going and checking out the additional content, there are some treats there today that do harken again back to the gift of the Magi. There's actually a link there that explains a little bit about the history of lockets, and it goes really in depth about the history, sort of into the Renaissance period, and you can learn a lot about lockets, and there's some beautiful examples on that page. That, I believe, was through the Smithsonian Magazine, which I thought was a great resource. And then also there are two other links, at least two. There's another link that tells you more about the story, the history of the gift of the Magi and O. Henry writing it. And then there's a link that actually teaches you how to make your own metal locket with no special equipment really, that I thought was fascinating. And then there's a video that also gives you the instructions on how to make a paper locket, which looked like a lot of fun, maybe a craft to do with a child or a grandchild. And I thought that would be a lot of fun as well. So you've got some interesting links there today, some things to read about, some things to learn how to do if you're interested in crafting a locket, either of metal or of paper. We tend to be multi-crafters, right? So I thought that would be fun to add in there. So that's what's happening with day 7. Let's go ahead and backtrack now a little bit and recap all the days. And this is where it gets a little hairy for me. And I end up, when I'm doing this, I end up hearing in my head and a partridge in a pear tree because there's so many things. So day 1, prologue in pine, this beautiful green colorway based on Little House in the Big Wood. Let's see if I can remember all the stories that they hearken to as well. Day 2, Clara's Dream from the Nutcracker. It's beautiful. Day 3 was the Nutcracker, the Season to Crack a Book bag. Day 4. Uh-oh, I did that thing again. I need to put them on their bags. Okay, I get a little hairy here. I think day 4, I need to look back. I think day 4 is this, Visions of Sugar Plums, this beautiful pink and purple. Day 5, I love this one too. A Sacrifice of Love. This is the one that goes with the Gift of the Magi. And my color of locket actually coordinates with that hank. Yours may or may not, but mine happens to. That was just a happy accident. Day 6. One of my colors too. Gosh, I love them all. Midwinter Candlelight. That was A Child's Christmas in Wales. And then, of course, day 7 is today with the locket bookmark. So those are the days up to now. Did I get that right? I'm curious. If I actually got it right, I have to put them all back in their bag. So we had an ice storm day before yesterday. I'll just share a little bit about what's happening here. We had an ice storm. It wasn't too bad where we are, but there were mailboxes and trees covered in ice. It was actually beautiful, but not fun to be out in. Our driveway had a nice clear coat of ice on top of it. Not what you want to see on your driveway. Yesterday, it was a lot better. So we took off yesterday and drove over to Freeport, Maine, went to LL Bean, went to a shop that imports all kinds of British goods. That was a lot of fun, and hung out over there, had a really lovely lunch at a Maine-themed restaurant that was great. I had a wonderful lobster stew. Jim had a lobster mac and cheese that was really yummy, and spent time over there, and it was so cold. My hands and my face were stinging when we were walking from building to building, and there was ice on the ground. So we had to be really careful not to slip and fall. And I'm glad to say I did not go down, nor did Jim. So yay, apparently we're learning about that. But let me tell you, number one, I'm really funny about wearing hats. I look terrible in beanies and hats because my hair is so short. I don't have that beautiful hair to like fall out and be gorgeous. I say I look like a demented gnome in a hat. I just look nothing but goofy. But yesterday I found a cloche hat from Ireland that's a plaid that I really love. So I got that, and I was so cold that I actually wore it. It didn't matter that I looked like a demented gnome. I wore it anyway, just to keep my ears and my head warm. And it made a difference. I was a little warmer. Go figure. That's a thing. So that's what we did yesterday. Today, there's lots of work to be done on the computer, and I have some meetings today. So I think today we will be mostly inside. It's beautiful outside, though. We've had a lot of fun. There's a squirrel in our yard that we've nicknamed Fatso. He is the biggest, chubbiest, fattest squirrel we have ever seen, with the biggest, fluffiest tail I've ever seen. And we had put up a bird feeder to kind of help the birds through the winter and potentially the squirrels. And Fatso the squirrel has like made it his. We have seen other squirrels in the yard, and they don't seem to dare to come up to that. And we saw a little skirmish maybe a week ago. And so we think that Fatso is like laid down the law, like this is my space. And he's always under there eating. He is still preparing for the winter, even though the winter's here. I told Jim we need to take pictures and share pictures and kind of the stories of Fatso the squirrel and his yard buddies. It's been a lot of fun doing that. I wonder what you're doing. Are you knitting? Are you, this is kind of that liminal space between Christmas and New Year's, and people don't really know what to do with themselves. I know a lot of you are doing Knitmas with Nomadic Knits, and that's fantastic. Knitmas was actually born out of that desire to create something that would be fun for people to do in this sort of awkward space where our routines are kind of all upended because of the holidays and families visiting and activities. So Knitmas kind of creates this anchor for us. So that's one thing I know many of you are doing, but I'd love to hear what the others of you are doing to kind of fill that space. Are you back to work? Are you at home? What are you doing? I'd love to know down in the comments. So Kim's asking, how long can we go back and scan the card? A really long time. I have a tendency to not remove that for months, and it's even been known to live up there a year or more, but it will eventually come down. So what I recommend that you do is, if you want to keep those links and keep those persistent for yourself, maybe copy it and paste it into a document so that you have it on your computer in the event that something happens to it. But it's not my intention to take it down anytime soon, because I think it's fun to go back and refer to, because the information I think is interesting, and especially some of those crafts or videos with games or other content. So I think, but it's a good idea if you love it to copy and paste it into a document of your own so that it can live on your machine and be persistent. Tara says that she is working in the office today. She only gets tomorrow off this week. Oh, that's not good. I'm sorry to hear that, but at least you get tomorrow off. And hopefully it's still kind of a festive time for you there at the office. So sorry for that. That stinks. But I know sometimes in some offices throughout the holidays, they try to make it a little lighter, a little more fun. I know your job is pretty intense though, Tara, so I don't know how to make that fun, but hopefully you're able to find a little bit of levity and some camaraderie with your colleagues there in the office. And chilly, I saw that it was chilly in Florida. In fact, Jim and I were kind of chuckling yesterday, and I don't mean to make light of it, because when you live in Florida, I mean, we're still Floridian in our bodies. When you live in Florida, cold, cool weather is cool weather. I mean, I remember getting excited because I could wear the hand knits or a sweatshirt, but still it was chilly. And it was funny yesterday because we got a winter advisory for goldenrod. We lived in Winter Park, but they considered us goldenrod. And it was like, we asked Alexa, how cold is it going to be? And she's like 45 degrees, I think it was. And we were like, oh, wow, it's going to be -6 here this week. So, but yeah, when you're there, it's all relative, right? So that is definitely chilly in Florida. I totally get it. Kim says she's working on a scarf from the Journey Through Scotland box. I love it. I can't wait to see pictures of that. That'll be great. Do remember, this is not a night that we would normally have our virtual knit, crochet, spin, and weave in, but it has been postponed until we're into January just because of the holidays. So we won't be doing that tonight. But there is a thread up in the Yarn to Use to see your whips. And I would love to see all the things that you're working on. I'm actually still working on my King Salmon sweater, but I just wound up yarn right before the live to knit up to try out a new pattern that's in process right now for something I'm really excited about, and will probably be coming to the Yarn to Use near at some point in the very near future. So I'm excited about that, and I just wound up some yarn to get started on that. That's all I'm going to tell you. No spoiler alerts. That's it. I hope wherever you are, you're having a great time and making the best use of this time between Christmas and New Year's, and taking some time to stitch. As I said, Santa says it does a body good. So find some time to stitch. Tara says she's going to be crocheting tonight. That's awesome. Do the fun things that feed your soul. I'll be back tomorrow with day 8 as we continue our countdown to day 12 of the 12 Days of Christmas from Olive and 2U Studios. Thanks so much for being here with me today. I'll see you in the Yarn of Use. Take care. Bye.